Do you know that's such a powerful metric? What you just said there about the breath. That was almost a seemingly innocuous statement, but you just said one of the metrics in your life that gives you immediate feedback is how long you can hold your breath for. So you
Hmm.
know, Hong Kong's this amazing city, mate. So I live 20 minutes walk up a hill that way. Here we are on Queen Road Central. It's a very busy street. Um, and then I live on this Kennedy Road above this park. Anyway, so I have this when I'm not, a little bit of my life, when I'm not working on my phone when I'm walking home, because I want to try to open the door and not be working when I see my family. So
Hmm.
sometimes, truth is, I'm working on my phone as I walk home. Sorry if I bumped into you in the street, by the way. And then other times, I might be listening to a podcast, or other times I'm bringing awareness to my breath. And I play this game, chap, when I walk through the park. There's these sets of stairs, and the rules of my game are I've got to walk up this set of stairs breathing in, and then I've got to walk up the next set of stairs. And let's say it's between 11 and 12 steps. And so I have to be breathing in slowly for 11 steps and then breathing out. And then it's 1, 2 steps, and then the 11 steps again. And when I can do it, I'm the guy. I'm not the guy that was drinking whiskey the night before. I was the guy that can take the 4 minute ice bath. It's such
Yep.
a great feedback for me to go, huh, what's missing? What's going on? What, where's this accumulated stress in my system coming from? That means I can't do this thing that I could actually do 3 days ago. Why can't it's this great metric that I have with me all the time that you just mentioned that you have with you all the time, which means that you can develop a strategy moving forward. Is that where you have enough awareness, especially yourself as an instructor, to go, and you've alluded towards your future self, which I want to ask you about in a minute. Um, but that feedback from I have the capacity to do this thing today, I can't do this thing. What's going on? When you are on those days, how do you unpack that?
Well, it's not necessarily that I can't do it, but if I choose to move in that direction, I may find it more difficult today than I would yesterday or tomorrow. And I have to realize that if I make that choice, I have to commit to that choice. And even if it is a little more difficult, it means I probably need to give myself a little more grace. I probably need to be more aware of my breath because sometimes we have tasks that we just have to do. And it doesn't matter if you are in a mood that you can handle a heavy conversation. Most likely it's going to come on the day where you can hold your breath for 5 seconds and the ice bath scares the crap out of you. That's when life's going to be like, and now this. But it just lets me know that I may react in a certain way. I may hit my stress point and overreact, which we're all prone to do. We lose 30% of our mental acuity when we're in a high emotional state. And once I reach that high emotional state, I'm like, well, not making any life altering choices right now. So let's see if I can step into neutral. I know that might be a little harder today. Let's slow down, and it may take me a minute or two, or I may just have to tell the person, or if I'm lucky enough in a situation to be like, I can't handle this right now. I need to step back. Otherwise, I just am aware that I'm probably going to reach that fulcrum of overreaction and reaction instead of anticipation just a little bit faster than I would before. And with that, I'm still going to do the hard thing, but I may not do it as well or as optimally as I could if I was in another state of mind. And if I can, not necessarily put it off, but table it until I'm in the right mindset, I'm going to go for the option to just table it for a moment.
I felt like you were speaking to me then. So you were talking about yourself. The word that hit me that I acquired traumatically a little bit was acceptance. Because, sometimes when I do that, I'm like, this is crazy. And I'll go back and I'll do it again and I nearly pass out. And I did it, but I did it. But it's a different experience from the days when I'm like, I did it. So I think yeah, this is therapy for me. Thank you.
Heck
Acceptance is
yeah,
a great
that's
thing.
what
And
we're here
then,
for.
thank you, mate. And then the next thing that I grabbed at, when you're not in that relaxed state, you lose 30% of your mental acuity. For
Hmm.
me, I don't have enough to play with. Here I am sitting here drinking lion's mane for this conversation. Thank you, Mu Vitality, for sponsoring the show, by the way. I'm drinking lion's mane mushrooms with coffee just so I can keep up with your intellect. I don't have 30% to play with.
Well, that's because of the acquired brain injuries. I don't have 30% to give up. Like, if I'm giving up 30%, I am definitely at a loss. And this, I teach a course on negotiation. And through negotiation, you don't want to be in an alter, and that's happiness or sadness. It's any high emotion. So it's not just the ones that bring us down, but go to a sporting event and look at that mob of people who've I mean, that's a willingness, acceptance to dive in. But even in that state, the mob mentality is a real thing. So you get a bunch of people working at less optimal intelligence, chaos ensues. So it just depends on what I'm being presented with. Oh man, I'm not saying I had 4 cups of coffee today just so I could make sure to keep up with you when I had this conversation, but I did. And so I did take that stimulant, and I had to slow my breath down before I jumped on because I was afraid I would be talking a mile a minute, or 1.6 kilometers a minute if we want to get.
Thank you very
to the
much,
other
mate.
side.
Bring on the metric system.
Yes, base 10 makes way more sense.
Mathematics is so much easier, I've got to say.
Oh,
But hey, I understand. I'm just going to reverse the conversation for a second because I wrote down how you connect to your future self. Another quick story about me, and then I'm telling too many stories. But my quick story is there's a coach. Actually, he's a psychologist and he calls himself a performance coach. His name's Henry Chamberlain. He was on the podcast because he's such an amazing human. Anyway, I did what was called a leadership development course. It was 2 Fridays, so it was a Friday and then 2 weeks later another Friday, and it was based on the work of Richard Schwartz from Internal Family Systems.
mm-hmm. Oh, that's a great system. That is a great system.
You know what? Two things I got out of that course. One was the only thing that was really leadership is what everybody in the room, like me, was an entrepreneur, owned their own business, or was always in higher management. So there was that was congruent. And then the other thing that I got from it was I guess you could say all the self-doubt that I have about running a business, being a father, being a husband, making decisions. Everyone else in the room had those moments as well. So that was reassuring. Anyway, I was blown away by this course and the work with that Henry did on through the internal family systems. In order for me to learn about me better and bring awareness to why I might make decisions in certain situations, and those decisions don't serve me the way that they should. So I should dive into Andrew, look back to the time when I was a child, and maybe I developed these protective behaviors that I'm still using as an adultified, parentified child. And so that was sort of the crux. And so that was great work. So I said to Henry at the end of it, I had the best times. Thank you so much. I learned so much about myself and about decision making and trying to be a better leader, better father, better human, even better husband. Can we do some work together? And so we're doing this swap. I'm so thankful.
Co-mentorship, it's the best.
Anyway, so one of the things, my homework, because I've just had my first individual session with him. And he said, what do you want to achieve? And there was a few things that come up, but let's just say the podcast. I want the podcast to be more successful. So one of the things I've got to do is I've got to get a piece of paper and I've got to get some crayons, and I just need to draw what I want, and just make a story, but with colors and not with words, just drawing it. And then when I'm assuming when I look at that, that'll connect me to what I want. When you speak about yourself, that story is alluding towards when you had those moments where you say you have your future self. Is there, like, if you turn the camera around, Chuck, is there a picture that you have that is your future self that you can rely on? Is there any anchors? Like, sometimes people get a tattoo there and they look at themselves and that helps them become who they want to be because maybe they have challenges. And this is one thing that I can align with, and it's a picture of my daughter, whatever. Is there anything that you have, or is it just all inside?
Well, I'll answer your question, but I have to go back real quick to, those choice points you're talking about. Why do I hold this choice point? One of the most powerful things anyone told me about those choice points, and it broke my brain for a while, is how many beliefs are you holding? Ways you should act, things you should do, are you holding simply because it was convenient in the moment to pick it up? And now that you've been holding it for so long, why is it so hard to let it go? You picked it up in a convenient moment. Why don't you put it down in a convenient moment? And one of my favorite quotes that go along with that is, don't shit all over yourself. I should be doing this. Okay, why? Why am I thinking I should be doing this? And going back and analyzing that choice point. Is this the flexible path for me? Because my goal is to be psychologically flexible and not to be so rigid. And I've been a practicing Stoic for a very long time. I love Taoism. I love that I don't necessarily have to label something. It can just be what it is. And to that end, my ideal self isn't an image or a poster. It is a soft, ephemeral vision of who I'd like to be, and it changes day to day. I give it permission to shift, to change, to grow, because I'm changing and growing every day. My ideal self from yesterday may not be my ideal self today. Now, there's a lot of the same characteristics that come through day to day, but if you say something that, and you already have, that sparks my brain and I'm like, holy crap, that's definitely going ahead. Like I'm going to try and carry that with me. If a friend of mine passes away, and not all of their behaviors were amazing, but they had a couple values that I'd like to carry forward in honor of them, that changes my ideal self. The best thing I can do for my friends, my loved ones, as we age and as people pass, is to carry forward the values that resonate with me, so that as I'm doing that, I can remember who they are and always carry a little bit of them with me. So my ideal self doesn't have a hard image, but it does have the ability to communicate back with, okay, so I want to stay flexible in this situation. I don't want to overreact. How would I answer this if I had everything I wanted? If I had the right mindset, if I wasn't in pain, if, how would I react? And generally it's the same. React like you would in an ice bath. Slow your breath down, 2 or 3 deep breaths, in 4, out 6, relax into the moment, and then handle it with the best information you have. So I don't try and make the right choice anymore. I know I'm going to fuck up. So, and not always, and I'll nail it a lot of the time. I try and make the choice right. And like through IFS, through ACT, looking at those choice points with all of the information I have, can I step into a neutral place, calm my breath down, and with all the information I'm given, make the right choice with what I have. Now, if it's wrong, and that's okay, I'll find out in hindsight. I'm sure someone will let me know. I have an opportunity to grow and learn, and I don't get upset I don't get upset for long if someone tells me I'm wrong. Because hey, you're wrong. God damn it. Like, my ideal self wouldn't get mad at that as fast. He'd be able to calm it down. I'd be able to take criticism a little bit better. I'd be an empty bowl, and I wouldn't say I know so much. I would be willing to learn and look at it from someone else's perspective, to learn from your context, to learn from your viewpoint, and to associate that into my life if it works. But my ideal self is constantly growing and shifting and changing because of the books I'm reading, the people I'm talking to, the clients I have. And, when you work with someone who's got stage 4 cancer, who isn't going to survive, and all they want to do is die with a little bit of dignity, it changed my perspective. So my ideal self is now more willing to accept the fact that my time is finite. I don't operate under a premonition of I'll be here forever. So I do free work. I give away a lot of stuff. I try and work with anyone who wants to work with me. I love talking to random people. You're not necessarily random, but anyone about breath, philosophy, deep stuff. Not so much the titties and beer conversation. My ideal self doesn't have a lot of those anymore. I've had enough of those in the bar. I've had enough titties and beer conversation.
You did 16 years of those. Let's move on.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's, sometimes they're totally necessary. Like, they're great, but let's talk about some meaningful stuff. And as my children would say, that is exhausting sometimes.
Mm.
Why do you always want to talk about this deep stuff? And I'm like, why don't you? And then they'll answer, because we're kids and we don't care.
Great answer.
But yeah, and it's my ideal self. The one thing I hold is I will never work with someone who doesn't want to work with me or who isn't ready yet.
Mm.
To try and force that on someone, I can't. I just don't have the time to do it. I mean, I'll open the door, and when it rains, of course you're welcome. On a sunny day, if it gets too hot, I've got AC. You're totally welcome. But I'm not going to chase people.
Mm.
It's just then I'm getting exhausted, and I'm like, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they? This is definitely going to help them. Why? And since I let go, and I just here's the information. Please come and talk to me if you'd like. But it's on you. I can't carry this weight for you. Because I find I carry if it's exhausting and it's crushing, and it allows me to be more present with my family, to be a better dad, to be a better husband, because I'm not so much worried about if they're going to do it or not, but I've made the door as beautiful as I can, and I really hope they walk through it.